Buongiorno. Mark my words, Mel. Early by Christmas.
Even now, less than a score of years after the World War,
hostilities exist. There is no blinking at the fact.
we shall never surrender!
This is the Militaria Podcast, brought to you by your friends at Queen City Militaria, Wehrmacht Militaria, and SMG War Relics.
Welcome to the Militaria Podcast. My name is Joshua Doda. I run Queen City Militaria, and I'm joined in this episode and every episode by my friends Dante Gambino of SMG War Relics.
How we doing, everybody?
And Billy Kramer of WehrmachtMilitaria.com.
Good evening, everybody. How we doing?
We're catching up. You know, we're back. It's been about a month. How are we doing? What's new? Dante, let's start with you.
Well, I'm well rested. I got back from vacation, and we took the old family vacation down to Florida, did Busch Gardens for a couple of days with the kiddos, and then we bounced over to the Bahamas for some real entertainment. No, it was good. We stayed at, the main island, Nassau. Have you guys ever been to the Bahamas at all?
I've never left the country, actually.
Really?
I cannot say that I've been to the Bahamas. I'm not a tropical location guy.
Well, I don't know what to tell you, man, because it's awesome.
You're missing out.
But anyways,
what did you guys do when you were down there? Were you surfing?
Yeah, no, they don't have big waves down there, man. It's not Hawaii or anything. No, you go, you stay, you basically, the Bahamas, it's cool because the dollar to the Bahamian dollar is the same. So you can use American dollars or you can use their dollars, but nobody does. So there's no adjustment for currency you need to make. So you can go down there with your cash. It's all even. So that's nice. And everybody is pretty much like, honestly, it could potentially be a 51st state situation because they all follow American sports. Obviously, they speak English. They're all, super nice people because their entire economy is based on tourism for the most part. So it's, it's a good vibe down there. You do tend to pick a resort to stay at, and you can stay on resort the whole time and never run out of things to do at the actual resort. That's how big these resorts are.
Is this like one of those places where if you leave the resort, you're like, oh, crippling poverty?
Yes and no. I mean, again, the economy is not horrendous down there. It's actually pretty good, but there is crappy parts of town and people that are literally living off the grid. The infrastructure
it's
just
like
really
the Los Angeles airport. When you leave, it's just
the infrastructure is just not there.
It's a whole country that's like Rochester, New York.
Or Puerto Rico, pretty much.
Okay, all right. So the 51st state. Someday.
The 51st state. Maybe that's more realistic than Canada, right? So
Puerto Rico. All right. Yeah, anyway,
we can go on forever with Puerto Rico, but no, it was a great time. We stayed on the resort the whole time. We had been previously, and we did go to the town of Nassau, and saw all the like cultural things to see and everything. It was fine, but we were just kind of like, there's not much to really do when you get down to it. You can visit a tobacco, like a cigar rolling place. You can visit a couple of old hotels and a couple of food places, and that's it. You're done. You're like, oh, there's where the carnival boats come in, and you're like, oh, that's great. And there's really not
tourism
a lot to see.
Tourism.
There's not a lot to see. But
do you know the history of it? Was it actually like Dutch at one point? Is that why it's
British?
Nassau?
No, it's British. It was a British colony. That's why they all drive on the other side of the road.
Idiots. Just dumb.
That's the only thing really that kind of that still you would be like, oh, something's not right here, is the fact that they drive on the other side of the road. But everything else is pretty up to speed, so to speak. So it's a good time. Great people there. The country is very gracious to have us. Again, their entire economy is based on tourism. So.
No, and that's cool. You took the kids, man. They'll remember that for the rest of their lives. And the photos were cool too. I don't know if you have any photos to share, but it looked like a great time.
Not right now, but I mean, typical, crystal clear blue water and all that kind of jazz, and like awesome. The only thing when you go down there, you have to be prepared. The food prices are outrageous because everything, they don't make anything except for rum themselves down there for the most part. So everything is outrageously expensive. So you just have to be like, okay, I know I'm going to spend $20 for a Bud Light. Like, that's just how it is. It's going to be $15 for a Coke, $20 for a Bud Light. and dinner's going to cost me $4,
Yeesh.
4 or 5 bills, and that's just the way it is. I mean, of course, you could go into town and get some local fare for pretty cheap, but
Right.
when you're at the resort, it's big money. So you gotta be prepared for that, or else you're gonna hate your life because you're gonna bitch about it the whole time. If you go down there mentally prepared, it's a fucking blast.
Quick fun fact about the Bahamas. It was actually a French colony, a Dutch colony, and a Spanish colony before it became a British colony in, I believe, 1717.
Yeah, that was the
Oh,
connection with
man.
Nassau. That's incredible. It's cool history.
That they got around, man. They're just kind of
Dude.
whoring themselves out. What's up with that?
Well, you know, everybody.
Everybody
That's
wanted
why
to
they
run,
call
man.
it
I love
Bahamas, the town bicycle.
The town bicycle. Well, they were probably, if we want to get into the history of it, there was probably big sugarcane producing island, I would imagine.
Well,
No?
that's the rum too. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. For sure.
So that's
We're gonna
probably
have to save that for our
all right.
Bahamas
We're
episode.
digressing.
Yeah, sorry. We
The
get you know
Bahamas
how we get
episode.
when we start talking about the Bahamas. Bill, what have you been up to, bud?
Oh my lord! Well, as you know, the house is coming along, and I'm about a month away from moving into my brand new house that I've designed. I've never created life on this planet that I know of, anyway. I can't think of anything that would top building a house. It's been the most fun, exhilarating thing. Dude, it's amazing. I love it.
What a profound way to describe building a house, honestly.
It's all. I don't know anything that could top it. I've had so much fun because every nook and cranny, I want it this way, and I designed it myself, and it's coming to fruition. And to see that, as you guys know, I had a horrible experience with a garage door opener.
Oh my gosh, yeah, just today, garage door.
Yeah, I
crisis
learned a lot about
2025.
Sidewinder garage door opening. Wonderful learning experience, very stressful, but and that's another thing. As fun as building a house is, it is extremely stressful. You got to make sure everything times right, and there's a lot of shit going on behind the scene, But that's my life predominantly, just building houses and doing stuff, selling stuff. Business is good, keeping that afloat. So yeah, that's my life right now.
We have seen a lot of progress pictures, and unlike just between all of us and the viewers, I was not super into it when you first started showing us the progress pictures because you were like, "Look, I got a pad of cement," and I was like, okay, what am I gonna do with this? This is just a gray thing." But now you're like, "I'm hanging shit on the walls," and so it has been pretty cool to see it come together.
Yeah, Uncle Germany came over and we hung a propeller that I got out of Texas. That was a World War II training aircraft. That's in my family room. I've got all sorts of home front stuff for the walls, and trying to tie the military theme into all of it. It's like I said, it's been very fun, and yeah, I appreciate the fact that it probably does look a little more complete now, so you can kind of see what I've been excited about for the last. I don't even know how long this has been going on, since October.
I saw it.
Really,
I went there. It was awesome.
Yeah,
I
that's
saw
right.
it.
Yeah.
Really difficult to tie your military hobby into the decor of the whole house without risking scaring the hose.
No, but that's not true necessarily. Because again, I have American stuff, and listen, I collect it all, so it's not. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's
No, I get it. I understand. But I feel like in my time I have fallen victim to this where I'm like, especially before I had a room for it. I felt like the collection was in my bedroom and a lady came home and saw a big lit display case in the corner and and some flags and all this other shit. She was like, "What the fuck is going on here?" It's not. Sometimes they like it, but for the most, but then if they do like it, you're like, "Oh, this actually might be kind of a concerning thing."
Yeah, right. I would be concerned. Big Josh, what's been cooking over there in New Hampshire?
Oh man, I get to do one of my favorite things this week, which is return an item to a family. And that is a while ago I showed you guys the Foot Locker that I bought, painted Foot Locker. I'll put a picture of it somewhere, maybe right here. Oh, and basically there was an interesting tidbit with that where I didn't get to talk about it on the show, but the last name Marvel, I hadn't thought about it, but I actually know a Marvel, and it's my former supervisor at work. And so I brought it up to him and showed him a picture, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I know who that is. That's my great uncle. My whole family's from Hollis. It was a whole thing." And he told me the history of it. He knew exactly how the guy's service history and all that. And at the time, I was like, "Well, do you want the Foot Locker? Does your family want it? I assume it's just been separated at some point." And he was like, "No, you can have it." But then he ended up going and talking to his family a little bit and mentioned it, and they were like, "Oh, that would actually be like a really cool thing to have." So Todd came up to me the other day at work, and he was like, "Hey, man, so about that Foot Locker, are you do you really need to keep it? Like, is it something that you're really enjoying?" And I was like, "Man, if you guys want it back, like this is my favorite thing to do. So I get
It
to
sounds like it was a
return
real marvel to him, if you know what I mean.
It was, yeah, he was marveled by it. Yeah. It's just so fun to return a family item to that family after they've been separated, and it's something we don't get to do super often. And I think a lot of the time, like I know Dante's touched on this before, the family is so frequently the one that sells it. Like
Right.
they don't care about getting it back most of the time. And I think a lot of the efforts to return items to families that are sort of cold calls, the family's just going to take it and be like, okay, we're going to sell it again. You know what I mean?
Right.
Two for one.
Right.
Well, I
yeah.
think
It's
that-
not something they regret.
Yeah, and I think dealers get a bad rap for like, well, how could you sell this item? It's somebody's. You know whose it is. You should be trying to return it. When, like you said, 99% of the time the family sold it to us, so they don't want it. Whether
Exactly.
they're on hard times, it's kicking around the garage, it's literally taking up space,
Or the wrong person in the family found it.
or they're just
True.
like, listen, this holds no value to me emotionally. I would like it to go to a collector who can appreciate it more than literally anyone in my family can. But then of course it goes into the collector market, and then someone's trying to find that person again, right? It's like,
Yeah, because then that's your like research touchstone is to be like, well, what if I can return it?
Yeah,
like,
right.
especially with stuff like Purple Hearts. Like Purple Hearts are a hot topic.
that's the
with
big
that.
one. That's the big
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
But in this case, not to beat a dead horse, his family does want it back. And he was like, I'll pay you what you paid for it. And I was like, all right, yeah, like no big deal. So I finally get to return an item to a family again. Yeah, it's a cool thing, and it's a local bit of history there that I can be like, oh, like this was a local vet and I tied it in. It's
I
pretty
think
cool.
it's marvelous.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty marvelous. And then the other quick thing that I'll say is I started this book, and I was talking to you guys about it in the chat. It's called Soldiering Yesterday. It's by a guy named Roger H. Aldrich. He's a New Hampshire veteran, and it's a self-published memoir of his time in World War II. He wrote it in his elderly years, and it's just been really cool. It's cool to find something so niche to be like, oh, a New Hampshire vet, not a combat vet. He was an engineer, but tells about his experiences and how they impacted him. So I've been enjoying that. But there's been something going on. And this is kind of the meat of today's episode. There's been something going on. People have commented. You've heard about the thing that's going on, Dante. And the commenters have been leaving comments about it saying, hey, what's going on? And I'm here to tell you. Dante's YouTube channel got deleted. So, let's talk about it, man. What happened? How did that whole thing go down?
So, literally, I'm on getting ready to jump on a plane to go on vacation, and I get an email from YouTube that basically the email is very vague. It just says your account has been banned. It's just like in your face. I'm like, well, thanks for the courtesy of letting me know, right? And they basically just say that it violates their community standards and whatever
Terms of service stuff.
And then there's a thing about this more specifically that it's hate speech, and you're just sitting there going, what? Like, and where it's coming from, but at the same time, like, that you're a good person, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm not promoting hate speech. Like, what can't you see that from watching the videos that that's not who I am? But
Right.
they just see the swaz and maybe mention the name here and there and whatever. And yeah, the whole channel got axed. So
How long did you have that channel? It was years, wasn't it?
So I want to say I started it. I started it a long time ago, but I never really started paying attention to it and putting in effort until like 2 years ago. And that's when I started building a following, and I was like, oh crap, people actually want to listen to me. I thought that was amazing, right? People want to listen to my annoying accent and everything. So fine. And I had
people love unboxings too.
They love unboxings. They really like listening to someone who's just being honest. Was really the big, I think, draw for most of my supporters. Because if I didn't know what it was, I was like, I don't know what this is, guys. I'll find out for you guys, or I don't know if this is
Right.
real. I don't know if this is fake, whatever. We'll figure it out. So we were kind of learning together, and I was having a good time. It was just like I was talking to, one of my buddies, except there's nobody there. I'm just talking to the camera essentially. And yeah, I got up to 1,300 followers. YouTube starts, once you get over 1,000, YouTube starts like trying to get you monetized. They want you to do all the stuff and hook up your bank account and all this stuff. And you're just like, I don't know. Okay, let's see where this goes. And you make like 50 cents a week. Like you're not making any real money.
Do you think that monetizing the channel led to higher scrutiny of the content you were putting out?
Yes, I think there's a direct correlation there, because I think that their standards are higher for their monetized channels, because let's face it, they have advertisers that are on your channel. And Reebok or whoever is advertising on your channel,
Right.
They don't really know what your channel is. They're not looking at it. They just pay YouTube. They're like, all right, YouTube, we want to spend $20,000 this month on ads. Here's the ads, run them. And they go out to whoever, and YouTube tries to pick and choose what the channels would fit, the ads the best. And but yeah, they have their advertisers to protect, I think, is the biggest thing. And I get it, man. I showed a lot of NSDAP stuff. I mean, there'd be box openings where it was just like armband after flag, and the whole screen is filled with red, black, and white, right?
Right.
So, but I think what kicked it off was, well, there's this one bizarre thing where I had one episode on pole toppers. It was like a 30-second bit on first and second pattern NSDAP pole toppers. That was it. I got a notification that it violated the standards and it just was kicked off. And it was like a 2-year-old video. So I was like, wow, that's weird. And I saw the writing on the wall. So I made sure all my content was backed up, and I had made an effort to learn how to back up my content through YouTube to my PC beforehand, because I kept thinking about Lakeside Trader. They had great informational stuff on HJ knives and things, and they put a lot of good content up. This is years ago. This is going back, I don't know, Billy, 10 years ago, would you say Lakeside stuff was on?
Yeah, there's been so many channels that have gone, and again, they were not presented in any shape, any way politically whatsoever.
But that was like, for me, that was like the big one where I was like, if I'm going to do YouTube, right, I know what can happen because I saw it happen to Lakeside. And I also remember the Hogels, they just bowed out of social media altogether because they didn't have any of their content backed up. So they lost all that great material they had, was just gone. So I always knew that when I was going to do YouTube videos, I was going to back everything up. So I did all that. So now we're in a process where it's a very arduous, laborious thing where I have a backup.
Good words.
I have a backup PG rated YouTube channel. So I'm clipping down videos that are just like, hey, this part's about a Japanese sword. We can put that on YouTube because that's okay. The Japanese only killed 15 million people,
So I was thinking about this earlier, and I think that there's a little bit of the issue with the hobby and how it relates outwardly is that there's a lot of nuance. And you can look at a badge, for instance, we've all done it, where you look at a badge or you look at a piece of militaria, and just like the craftsmanship is good, the details very strong, it looks great, maybe good patina, or even if it's just like unissued condition, whatever, and you'd be like, this is a beautiful piece. And that was the only thing I could think of where it was like, if you're on camera presenting historical items, maybe the quote unquote like enabling hate speech terms of service violation is being like, look at this beautiful swastika.
Sure,
because
you're showing appreciation for it. Yeah.
Right. Because those sentiments, while you're talking about production quality, are easily clippable, I guess, like into a thing where if it's taken out of context and it's not seen through the lens of a collector, it can be seen as glorification.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. 100%. Well, there was one unboxing, one of my most recent ones, where I had made mention of, I like, let's put it in quotes, this kind of stuff, right? Beginning with the N. So I like this stuff. You guys like this stuff in quotes. And I'm not thinking anything of it. I've done literally almost 100 of these box openings, and we see this stuff all the time, and I've never had any problems. So I'm thinking it's smooth sailing and it's not going to be an issue. However, when you take that out of context and you're not looking at it from a historical or collectible point of view, it's like, whoa, what are these guys? These are some kind of freaking neo-Nazi whatever extremists. And I get how it could be taken out of context. So, but whatever, what was done was done. Once that video got waxed, I knew I was in trouble. So I double checked and downloaded anything I needed to back up again, and just kind of got ready for the inevitable. I kind of knew it was coming, and it was just like within a week.
Wow, that fast.
It was pretty much like, yeah, you're done. After that one video got waxed, for me saying what I said, because I re-released it. I edited it out. I took out all the stuff that was kind of questionable, and I re-released it, and it sucked. And my viewers were like, "This sucks," and I was like, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to figure out what they're going after." And I had an idea, so the edited out video was just horrendous because I hadn't been planning on it. Right? It was I was shooting from the hip to put that video, the edited version out, and it was just not good. So now I know, like, box openings are not really doable from my point of view anymore. I can't do them on the PG rated channel. It's just too risky.
At the very least, yeah, it's a liability. And so I guess like let's broaden the topic out, because this is something that impacts all collectors, and we have some input from Dante now about how this has impacted him specifically. So Bill, like, has censorship and I guess fighting with the terms of service and community standards on social media and on the internet in general, I guess other platforms, has that impacted you as well?
I mean, how much time do you have? You know what I'm saying? I actually feel bad because of this, censorship topic. I went back and did the math. I've been lying to people saying I'm on my 6th Facebook account. I've done the math, and it's only number 5 that I'm on. I feel bad.
Okay, yeah.
I'm making it sound way worse than it is. It's only number 5. I've lost 3 Billies, the Robert William. Well, no, I'm on my 3rd Billy. I've lost the Robert William, 2 Billies, and the William Kramer, and I lost the actual Facebook page. For the business, had 7,500 viewers. And you're getting into the Dante was talking about like the unboxing videos. Why are some people allowed to do unboxing videos, but not others? So, I mean, that's kind of like, you got to figure out this. I'm PG-13 now. For anything I post, it's suggestive of what it is, but it's not actually showing anything in detail because I don't want to lose my 5th Facebook account.
Yeah.
Right. The first one, yeah, it is a lot of work. And the first one had awesome stuff on it. And, I had photos of my brother that passed away on that account, and it's gone. You can't, like, plead your case and be like, well, hey, I wasn't doing anything. Like, I mean, it was, in its historical context, I'm not politically motivated. I'm not trying to do anything like that. I'm literally interested in the stuff from this era. I mean, I have tobacco tins that I collect, but, the tobacco tins are okay, but not this stuff. And I mean, where do you draw the line of like, well, it's an antique, or is it political hate speech? And for me, I'm not attached to anything like political hate speech. So it's frustrating because I've lost a tremendous amount of time and effort in building it up. Much like Dante, he built it up for years, and it's just gone in the blink of an eye. It's like gone.
Well, and you remember back in it was like, let's call it the Wild West, when Facebook was still kind of in its infancy, and the military community kind of got into Facebook going, hey, this is a great platform for us. We can buy and sell and trade and show and da. And there was really there was no rules. You could do anything. And I think all of us were really kind of just starting to learn about the business end of it, and like really kind of getting our feet wet and building our brands through that. And
dude, early adopters of I mean, there was that, we've talked about it on the show before, but there was a ton of money to be made in those Facebook groups originally. And we had some really successful groups with thousands of members. And then, now we've had a bunch of purges. And it's all gone.
We were all like the
discussion group.
we were the first round of mods, right, for like all of these groups. Like I was moderating like all these groups just for nothing, just because I wanted to build my reputation and my brand. Billy was doing it, Josh was, everyone was involved, right? We were, and then I was paying Facebook for advertisements, and
I still do.
I was paying them, and it was linking back to my website and just all kinds of stuff. And I was growing a business. And then one day they came in and were just like, "Not today, sucker!" Boop. And they wiped out all of my accounts on Facebook. And then that's when I was just like, "I'm not doing this anymore. This is ridiculous. I don't need this." And Billy was still like opening new accounts and trying it again. And I was just like, "I'm over it." And I was off of Facebook for like what, 5 years, 6 years?
Yeah. Well, and that's when you come up with the MeWe and the other alternatives. But
and they suck.
Facebook, it's scrolling your thumb. It's so easy, and it's such a nice. I mean, listen, it's not. You don't like a lot of things about Facebook, and it does, a lot with your personal information. But the platform itself is fantastic. It's so easy.
Yeah, they do have you by the balls.
It's ubiquitous. Like that's the thing is like aside from, I mean, there's a younger generation that I think has shifted away from Facebook, but for a long time, everybody just already had one. So you could invite new people into the hobby too by getting these groups to grow over time. I mean, I had friends and coworkers and people back in the 48-hour auction group days. I'm sure you remember, Billy. That was crazy. Like, and just to speak to that, we had some very creative groups for selling. Like if you wanted to get rid of items or you wanted to buy items, 48-hour auction. I mean, people were selling stuff. Sometimes, I mean, obviously you could make a ton of cash. Sometimes you'd get a killer deal on something because they agreed to the auction rules. And in 48 hours, maybe you were the only guy that bid.
Yeah, well, I mean, setting your phone alarm was a big deal in that group. Sniping and things like that, the timestamp. But overall, I remember, somebody who's a friend but also a competitor, and this is like, oh, you need to get off Facebook. It's such a waste of time. And it's like, no, man, I'm of this generation, and like this is where I'm going to shine, and I ran with it. And again, we had that Wehrmacht Military sales and discussion group that was for people. It was a basic WAF copycat, but on Facebook. And we had Durante and a lot of great mods and admins and a lot of tons of knowledge. So people could come and be like, collectors who didn't even know about the other big forums, but they knew about Facebook. So they could come there, ask questions from experienced people and get honest, good feedback. And it's such a shame that we lost all that because it was a great platform back in its heyday. And as you know, I mean, in its infancy, blatant swastikas everywhere. I mean, and now you can't even show the backside of one,
True. I mean, and I think, Dante, you're completely right when you say it was the Wild West, because I remember when we had to write group rules back then, it eventually to ensure that the group wasn't deleted, we had to be like, you can't sell guns here. But for a long time, if you lived in a private sale state or if you had people were just selling guns on Facebook. And I think I mentioned it to you guys the other day. Like I sold guns on Facebook, bought guns on Facebook back in the day. And there was a purge for those groups as well. So it was definitely like a shift in the maybe Facebook to Meta or just the business, I guess the platform itself, where they were like, we got to kind of tamp this down. But for a while, it was a free for all.
YouTube and Facebook did kind of a purge almost at the same time, I feel like. And then in Facebook, everyone kind of figured out what they were really looking for and what the algorithms were picking up. And on YouTube, you got the vibe that, well, there was a change to their community standards where it was like, if you're talking about Nazism or a swastika in a historical context, and there's something to be gained and learned from your conversation or displaying it, then it was okay. But it had to be obviously in a historical context.
Right.
So people were kind of pushing it a little bit back with YouTube, going, oh, YouTube's fine now. As long as you're not a whatever, you can put this on there and just talk about the history. But when we start doing box openings and we start showing off large collections and things, I think the waters get muddied, and YouTube, especially if you're monetized, wants to play it safe. And if they haven't gotten you yet, they're going to get you eventually. I think that's just the way it is.
Do you think that there's any correlate? So Bill brought this up earlier. There are successful channels that cover these topics, and I don't think that all of them can be said to be like the most academic study of militaria, historical items, whatever you want to call it. So, do you think that these very successful channels, perhaps they actually skate the TOS sometimes because they are generating more revenue? So, like basically saying if you're a high earner, are you shielded from some of that criticism, or and the most of that stuff sort of the shit runs downhill? So people like you who had a substantial amount of subscribers but still well below what somebody would say is like, you're not getting a plaque in the mail,
Right. Exactly.
that
Yeah.
stuff gets shifted to the lower earners.
Is there some type of a threshold? But honestly, I just think it's saying or showing the right combination of things, or an algorithm triggers it. And then I think, and this is all kind of just hypothetical, like what I think happens once you hit the algorithm, once you trigger an algorithm, then I think what happens is your whole channel is then subject to review by actual auditors, like actual people. And I think once your whole channel is subject to auditing by live human beings, I think that's when you are screwed. So I think it's just a matter of skirting those algorithms long enough. That, and I think that's what the more successful channels have done. I don't know what the exact ratio is or the exact formula is to staying away from the algorithms. I've learned some stuff just by getting waxed this time, but do I want to try it again? No, I don't. So I'm going to be all PG. I'm sorry. I just am.
So on your new channel, do you have a disclaimer, much like we've tried to do with the podcast, where it's like, in no way are we trying to do anything?
No, because I'm not even talking about the stuff, and I'm not even showing it. I'm doing strictly Allied stuff or Axis stuff that's not related to the Third Reich. Stuff with no swastika and nothing like that. So I'm just staying
like
away
you said,
from it.
You touched on the Japanese. I mean, they beheaded soldiers and they were war criminals. I mean,
Sure, Unit 731.
731 and
Go
the
watch
logs,
the movie.
The logs that they did to the Chinese people are just horrible, man. And
It's
again,
terrible.
the United States, not that it's paperclip related, but the United States gave clemency to a lot of war criminals that were Japanese for the medical information of the studies with the syphilis and shit. I mean, Judy, we can go down that rabbit hole, but it is terrible, and
Sure.
that's a real thing. But but you
The
can
father
show
of American rocketry, bro, is a Nazi.
Well, I know that's paperclip. Yeah, Werner von Braun, and that's paperclip in NASA. But where I'm going real quick is, I mean, you can show the meatball, that flag, but not the other side of it. When America is literally who gave these guys the pass when it came to, are you a war criminal or not?
There's a cultural bias, I think, towards World War II being primarily a European war, right? I think like the Japanese, though gruesome in a lot of their acts, they don't get the same amount of they're not regarded with the same amount of villainy as like the Germans, right? So when you see World War II movies, they're almost always European conflict. And I mean, even recently there was a discussion about like renaming Veterans Day to be like World War II Victory Day, but it would specifically be VE Victory Day. It's interesting to see that, but
Which is coming up, by the way. Today's the 5th.
Right. Yeah. So it's so there you go, topical. But it's interesting to see that the double standard, and I think that again has to do with the nuance that like we as collectors see that, but I don't think that the people who are sort of like maybe they took a couple history classes, maybe they've watched a few movies, or they're a casual History Channel enjoyer. They're probably not so keen to be like, oh yeah, the meatball flag is as offensive as or inspires the same reaction as a swastika.
Well, I mean, I think we go into like what's culturally relevant today. So, because we still have neo-Nazis and that's still a symbol of hate, it's still culturally relevant.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
That's true.
Whereas, like, okay, well, there's no Japanese hate groups really of any significance to even talk about. So
we're driving Hondas. I mean,
yeah, and they've become a much more submissive culture, and it's like a whole
and everyone likes anime.
and well, different types of anime, sure. But yeah, I mean, what's culturally relevant? Like Genghis Khan isn't culturally relevant anymore. Like, so nobody cares what he did, right? But still, Hitler is culturally relevant. It's a huge travesty that's still fresh in our minds, and for some reason, the culture has just stuck with the. Help me out here, Josh. I'm
Well, I
going
think
off the
that
rails
like
here.
the thing with any the rising sun is not necessary. Japanese imperialism is not regarded in the same way as like fascism is, but fascism is very focused on symbology, right? And so like you see that not just with militaria, but also just with how modern fascist groups would be identifying based on using symbols, whether it's runic symbols or even things like the Italian what is it the fasces. I'm not pronouncing
Yeah,
that
the
correctly.
sticks and the whatever the hell it is.
So the unfortunate thing is that like those symbols are going to keep getting recycled by groups that sympathize with the beliefs of these former fascist organizations, and then yeah, you're right, it stays culturally relevant because there's that guy on your block that has a white power sticker on his truck, and you're like, oh gosh, dude, you're bringing the property values down. Like it's going to be there,
What
unfortunately.
kind of neighborhoods do you guys live in?
Definitely not in my
Well,
neighborhood.
I okay, it's not actually in my neighborhood, but it shows up. You see it on Reddit every once in a while. Some guy say, "Oh, I saw this crazy sticker on a guy's car, and I was in traffic today." But all I'm trying to say is it does still have a use. Whereas, like, I think the Japanese imperialist symbology is much more like distinctly Japanese. Like,
Well, I mean, and also if you go into different areas of the world, especially in Asia, like the swastika doesn't have the same value in terms of negativity, right? There's
right.
people blatantly doing cosplay with German outfits on and going to like Halloween parties dressed up as SS people, like the SS got troops and stuff. It's like blatantly different culture of what's acceptable and what's not than compared to the West.
Especially if you're talking about going to Halloween parties, because I'm pretty sure Prince Harry did that and got in trouble.
Prince Harry.
You haven't seen the Prince Harry Nazi picture?
Oh, I think I have. I can't remember. I feel like there's a lot of celebrities have done dumb shit and gotten in trouble for it.
Yeah, blackface is of the equivalent to. You're not.
Yeah,
There's just
right.
some
Oh,
things
absolutely.
you're not supposed to do.
Yeah, no, it's just
Yeah,
it's in
right.
bad taste.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
unbecoming of a lady, frankly. So, I mean, then talking about how this has impacted all of us, like what methods would you use to keep yourself safe from that sort of scrutiny? Because it's something that we all deal with, right? So we all have our own methods. What do you, Dante? You were just talking about you're keeping it to Allied. I look forward to seeing your Soviet stuff.
If I get it, nobody wants to sell me Soviet stuff because they're all selling it to you, Josh. Damn it.
Oh, I wish they were selling it all to me. But so
No,
I mean,
listen, I think that we constantly, as a hobby, we're constantly going to be exploring new platforms. I think it's just the nature of our hobby. We're going to keep turning over stones, looking for new opportunities. Where can we have safe conversations about what we like to collect without being judged too harshly or incorrectly, let's just say. So I've moved. I'm starting to move everything over to Patreon. So I'm going to do full box openings uncensored on Patreon, which has it's a little bit more relaxed of a vibe over there, and supposedly a little more friendly to the hobby. So that's the first thing. But also, doing the old censoring everything now. With there's my little blue dot. Speaking of fascists symbols, so I got to put a blue dot on the one that will get me in trouble, right? But
right.
the other one's fine. I can show that one off, right? So there you go.
So I mean, talking about Patreon and stuff, obviously it hurts your business because yes, you have a you're switching to a paywalled platform, right? So now if people want your content, they're going to have to subscribe on Patreon. Even if you have like a free level of membership, there's an implied like sign up for a different level of membership because obviously you were monetized on YouTube, so you want to be able to continue that revenue stream. But it does definitely hurt numbers because you're losing distribution in the process.
It's traffic.
Right?
It all boils down to traffic, right? And Patreon's just not going to have the traffic that YouTube has because your average internet surfer will pop up YouTube videos all day long, but they're probably almost never going to randomly stumble onto Patreon videos.
Are you letting potential subscribers, like, are you letting YouTube viewers on your PG-13 channel know that the other content that is like too spicy for YouTube is on your Patreon?
Yes, so that is going to become a part of the regular language where it's like, hey, I can't show you this here. Come on over to Patreon where you can get the full thing, blah, 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 blah. And, I hate that I have to do that, but that's what I'm going to have to do. And I'm not, believe me, this isn't a money grab. I'm not making hardly anything. It's really about, I enjoy making the content. And I have a lot of people tell me that they love watching the content. So that motivates me to do it. Really, that's really the brass tacks of it.
So, Bill, what about you, man? What do you do to try to avoid, I guess, persecution from the social media platforms and still be able to expand your business and reach new customers?
So this is a cool segue into a topic I would like to talk about, and that's eBay. Anything without a swastika that's on the website goes straight to eBay, and every customer on eBay gets a business card. The spicy content's on the website. Here's
Right.
the website. Right, I would kill to have the traffic that eBay pulls, and let's broaden this scope a little bit, because eBay has smoked people who are legitimate military dealers. The little guy who sells fakes and shit can sneak in there, and there's this whole market on Fleabay of people who don't know what they're doing, passing off garbage. The parts daggers are rampant over there. So they've targeted the good sellers and eliminated them. I mean, you could go down hours this rabbit hole. But
you're right. You're right. If I could interject real quick, I've noticed recently. So, and Dante brought this up earlier. If you get a strike once on YouTube, then that's going to increase the amount of scrutiny that you get going forward. And you're going to have to be there's like a real person that's looking at your stuff. And I found that that's the same thing on eBay, where if I have something, even if it's like a Reichsmark, like something small, it's a very high possibility that it's going to get flagged because I've been flagged before. But as of late, there's a lot of people selling straight open swastika in the picture, medals, badges, etc., and they are brand new sellers. And for some reason, this stuff is not being reported quite as much as it used to be. I think there's been a shift as well in maybe the user base that's looking at this stuff, or maybe it is an administration shift. But those people have continued to sell without any issue. And if I was to list right now something that had a swastika on it, it would be taken down within hours.
Okay, and you bring up a cool point of the scrutiny. Once you've been exposed, they're going to look at you harder. There's also the aspect and kind of, are you being reported by jealous douchebag competitors? Are people purposefully attacking you? That's something.
That's true. You don't know.
Right, you don't know. And I feel that people have done that to me before, like they're going to remotely stop me. And I mean, good luck, So with
Everybody
that
knows Bill can't be stopped.
I certainly haven't so far. It just gets bigger and better every fucking day. So my point with that being said is you don't know, is it the algorithm? Is it somebody purposely doing it? Are you an old member? Are you know what I'm saying? Is it versus a new account, like what you're saying? Like we as on our end, we don't know how we're being targeted. And let's take this to another step. I think we've talked about Michael Miller. He's a researcher, from a historical perspective. He's lost Facebook accounts much like we have. We're on the sales side of it, right? We're selling this stuff. Michael Miller is strictly history research and historical aspect of it all, and is presented in its correct context. And on a personal level, he's actually extremely liberal politically, and yet he has lost accounts. And I mean, I don't know how many books he's published on the topic, but I want to say it's over a dozen. These are just some of the ones I have in my personal collection. And he's always supported me over the years, so I got to support him back. And he's wrote very nice things in his dedications to me of his books, and I'll be happy to send you a picture of that real quick. But my point is that with the whole Facebook thing, is that no one's safe. But the flip side of that is on YouTube, we do have these channels, which maybe they're established a little longer than we are. I don't know. But they seem to be okay. Their box openings, they're allowed to be played. But yet Dante loses his entire channel. So where do you draw the line you wish you could talk to somebody about this and explain, like, hey, listen, we're not trying to do anything like what you're accusing us of. But you
Right. It's unfortunate too, because I think that what you brought up is a good point. It probably is a combination of all of those things, right? Some of it's an algorithm, 100%. Picking up on, if you went right now and tried to post like a party flag on Facebook, I think it would be flagged by an algorithm immediately because it's so easily recognizable. But also, there are the more like, how did this get flagged moments? And I think that one you can attribute to other users. Like that would definitely be like, or a group even. I mean, we've seen groups get deleted because you get some spiteful guy that gets ripped off on a fake or gets scammed or something. It happens every day. And then he reports the group and the group gets canned. And it's a loss, absolutely. But I think that's one of those things where you can look at it and go, all right, well, I could see how this was a person. And then you have the advertiser portion of it where if an advertiser catches wind of, a YouTube video or something, maybe they find Dante's video and they're, oh, I don't want Gatorade in a video about Nazi armbands.
Right.
They might have their own way of measuring where their ads are going, right? So there's like a whole bunch of reasons why it could be happening. And it's unfortunate to say, we've been dealing with this since, I don't know. When do you think this whole thing started? When do you think the shift began?
2017 is when I noticed that it started to
Okay.
change. And we did the Wehrmacht military sales discussion. We had it running strong, great membership, and that ran, I think, till about 2018. And then that's when the real purging started of like, they don't care what you guys are trying to do, it's done.
I'll jump in here and say that the travesty to all this is that all these social media platforms, nothing is backed up, nothing is saved, and they're very hard to navigate even when this content is on there, right? You post something on Facebook, then try to go find it. It's a nightmare to go find stuff that's been posted just a day or two ago, right? So it's not user friendly in that regard, which is why the forums still hold value and are still so important to make sure that we're supporting. I know there's a lot of, new guys, the forums are dead. And yeah, I get all of that. However, they have a huge role in our hobby still, and that's because of the censorship.
Good plug. Good plug for the forums. Yeah, go find a forum that you like. It's a wealth of information that's not going to get scraped when Mark Zuckerberg has a policy decision that he feels would be better for advertising.
Yeah.
But I mean, speaking to what you're saying, around that same time, Bill, I hadn't thought about it. When you said 2016, that actually lines right up with when I lost my Facebook of a decade. And that was and that honestly was for me. I was like, all right, well, I'm kind of like going to invest less in social media at this point because I had a Facebook for a decade, had a page for my business, and remaking it and trying to get back to where it was before became completely. I was like, this is a chore. I'm not going to do this. It took me a decade to get to where it was, and now it's gone. And all the pictures, to speak to Dante's point, everything that I had on my personal Facebook was completely lost to time. To borrow some verbiage from E-Metals. And it's a shame because you're like, man, you get a post reported from your business page, and in some cases that results in your personal page also being taken down. Or at the time we were selling things, and it's hard to predict when that shift is going to happen. So your marketplace post that has like a flag in it or a badge is now grounds for having everything deleted. And I'm not trying to just sit here and have like a bitch fest with you guys but it is something that I think has impacted everyone in the hobby, especially if you got in and you were an early adopter of the Facebook hobby groups.
Well, one thing I'll say to protect our hobby and the work that you put into your content on YouTube specifically, if you're kind of amateurishly doing this and you don't have YouTube Studio, you need to buy. I think YouTube Studio is like $2 a month. It's cheap. It's not expensive, but you need to invest in that because if you invest in YouTube Studio, then what that'll allow you to do is to go in and download content to your PC, to your hard drive, whatever. So you can back up everything, right? Because I know a lot of content providers or creators, they got their phone. They take a video on their phone, they upload it to YouTube or upload it directly on a live stream or whatever. And then, hey man, I need more space on my phone. They delete it out of there and it's gone forever. It's just on YouTube. And once YouTube steps in and says, no, sorry, I don't like your stuff. If you didn't back it up, you're toast.
I think that was why, losing the Facebook accounts that I did lose. I mean, that's exactly touching base. There's no way to back up anything. And I put a lot of effort and time into that, and it was fucking gone. And it's just like, motherfucker,
Yeah,
Yep.
the best
I
you can
agree.
do is try to save the photos or save, like Josh still to this day does great little montages and little infographic things. You got to save those off of Facebook because that cannot be the place that you're hard driving and warehousing your stuff. It cannot be.
I mean, it's great for my mom. My mom has years and years and years of pictures on her Facebook, dude. Sometimes I'll be looking for something, I'll be going back. I'm like, you had Facebook in 2014? What the fuck? But if you're not my mom, though, yeah, you're at risk. If you're sharing anything that's remotely going to be raising an eyebrow with some administrator, then yeah, you have the risk of losing all of it, which sucks. And especially in the case of Facebook, where they build a platform around being like, make a business page, integrate it
Yeah.
to your website. Like that stuff is it's not particularly hard to set up, but once you set it all up, you're like, all right, like I have a whole infrastructure in place here to drive people to my website, to drive sales, to even like I used to do product spotlights on my old Facebook page where I'd be like, let me tell you about this thing. Like, let me give you a write up on this specific item. And now that feels like kind of a risk. There has to be a lot more subtlety in it. And I know for me, like I try to overlap items where like a swastika is not shown or do like a real close up. And Bill, I see your posts where it's like the back of a dagger,
Yeah.
it's a little more subtle. And I think that works in most cases. But I mean, even those pictures I've seen removed. I mean, Bill, you've had experience with this, I assume.
Again, I lost my business page, and I see other business pages that blatantly still have a swastika shown on Facebook. So again,
Yep.
that leads you to believe are douchebags being excuse my French. You can edit that
Oh
out.
my God.
Well, you can bleep it out. Bleep it out.
Well, but
I'm sorry.
then that's the issue because you're like, well, I can't imagine that a company like Facebook is playing favorites with another
Correct.
account that's doing the same thing that I'm doing. It's because we're all small fish compared to their big fish, right? So then it's like, what have they learned to not raise eyebrows? And I bet if you ask the accounts that are in question right now who still display these things, they would literally be like, "Oh, nothing." Like they don't have the answers either. It seems very like scatterplot in the way that it's the punishment is doled out.
And I get from a business standpoint of like trying to keep the other guy down. Like for instance, like I used to hunt eBay. I mean, I still do, but I used to hunt eBay a lot more. I mean, I had again 30 accounts, and I was hunting with girls working for me. And with that being said, I never reported something. Like if I saw somebody selling something that I wanted, I would just message them and be like, "Hey, I want that." I know people who would message somebody and then go back and report them to get the listing taken down, so they had the lead on the item. I was never that big of a cocksucker, Like I was never like, come on, like that's being pretty slimy about it. And I look at the people who report the shit on Facebook as like you're being really slimy, and it's just kind of disgusting. Like that's what you have to resort to try to win at this. Like, dude, you're such a loser. It's uncanny.
Well, and there's enough to go around. But I think that, like, in terms of winning, but I think that the other thing is that once you get your shit taken down, there are some people where it has a psychological effect and they're like, oh, I can't do this anymore. You can't do this anymore.
Yeah,
So they see another
100%.
account, right? And you see it on eBay or whatever, where like maybe somebody out there was like, oh, I'm trying to sell my shit. They got their account banned, and all of a sudden your account starts getting banned, and you're running the same circle as this person, and you're like, oh, okay. So like you're trying to basically say, if I can't have it, nobody can have it.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. Because I mean, I think we've all kind of felt that way a little bit. We're just like, why am I being picked on? Screw
Yeah.
this guy. I don't even like
Burn
this
it all
guy.
down.
His stuff is still on there. You're just like, but I try to be the bigger man. I've never reported anybody for anything, because I just feel like I want to be a little bit of a protector of the hobby. Like I'm not going to do that. So that's just my point of view.
So, do you guys have any advice then, I guess, based on personal experience that I could give some myself? I kind of already touched on it, but like how would you advise somebody else if someone's a new dealer and they're trying to be able to utilize these platforms, or even if they're just trying to sell some stuff like on the side to be like, hey, I'll make an extra buck, I want to buy this badge. What would you tell them in terms of like, how do you avoid that scrutiny? How do you avoid risking the loss of everything that you have on whatever platform we're talking about?
Well, I think the biggest thing, if they're new, they should get on all the Facebook groups, as many as they can get into, and look at the rules and the regulations. Because a lot of the Facebook groups that are still out there have successfully navigated the waters as far as what's allowed, what's not allowed. So if you just kind of figure out what they're saying to do, and then start applying that to whatever else you're doing, whether you're posting on your own homepage or your own main page or whatever, do the same things there. You're going to be pretty safe, I think, in general. And then also, I wouldn't. I would do personally. I would do a personal page and then do a business page, and then the personal page is just all of your family and whatever, and then the business is business. I think when you start blending them together, it's like, oh, freaking Uncle Bob hates what I'm doing, so he's reporting me. Or
Right.
this friend from high school hates what I'm doing, and they're reporting. So you can't have that mixed in, I don't think.
I've posted some things from personal life on this newest account, but other than that, I've gone into it and explained to people like from here on out, it's just the business. It's promoting the business. I'm not going to get personal about it because I don't want to lose. Again, like you said, like it's not even worth the time to lose everything you work for. So I've actually just strictly done, my personal account is the business.
Yeah, same for me. My business account is it. That's it. I don't befriend regular friends on there. It's just for business. And when people start bombing me with like random crap like spam, I'm like, listen, man, stop sending me this crap. I don't want it.
In videos,
This is not what I'm about here.
All right, boys. Well, I think we've had a pretty productive discussion here. We veered off a little bit into the realm of talking about Facebook politics, but it's all relevant. We're all still covering the topic of how do we interact as dealers? How does the hobby interact with social media and with the censorship that's implied by things like terms of service and stuff like that? And certainly some good tips if you're a dealer, if you're somebody that's just trying to share your collection, focus on that stuff that we mentioned because it'll keep you safe from losing everything that you have. Make that separate account. Censor your stuff out in such a way that you feel is appropriate. But don't go post a no open swastika. You're gonna get the group deleted, like they always say.
Yep.
But that's gonna be a wrap for this episode, guys. It's been fun talking to you. As always, my name is Joshua Doda. I run Queen City Military, and I'm joined by my friends Dante Gambino of SMG War Relics.
Thanks, guys, for your time. It was a great episode.
And Billy Kramer of WehrmachtMilitaria.com.
Again, yeah. I mean, we haven't done the bros talking episode for a minute, so this was kind of a good change of pace.
I love catching up with you guys and just getting into some, just picking your brains a little bit about these topics that impact us all. But yeah, without further ado, guys, we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. And, hey, leave us a comment if your Facebook's been deleted. Does anybody have more Facebooks in the graveyard than Bill? You got more than 5? Let us know. We'll see you next time.
See you later.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, Mike.